Lying drivers humbled by Teslacam footage, good Tesla drivers and bad ones too, freak accidents, and much more are coming up today on
Wham Baam, Teslacam. I hope you're satisfied.
Luke was supervising full self-driving in his Model Y. As his car approached a yellow light, it began to slow down. The Tesla came to a gentle chauffeur stop as the traffic light turned red. Suddenly, a Jeep slammed directly into it from behind. Luke went to check on the Jeep driver, and incredibly, nobody was injured by the impact. The Jeep driver told Luke that he'd been distracted when the collision occurred. Do you think FSD should have handled the situation differently? Post your ideas in the comments below. One thing is certain, the collision could have been avoided if the Jeep had been equipped with active safety features like automatic emergency braking or forward collision warning. This video is from a different Luke. Watch what happened while his Tesla was motoring along at 70 miles per hour. The driver of a large black pickup truck crashed into both Luke and another pickup. Luke's left side camera captured the entire event, continuing to record even after two brutal impacts. The pickup driver, who Luke told us was intoxicated, first hit a white pickup truck, then both of them collided with Luke's Tesla. Luke estimates the black pickup was going well over 100 miles per hour, and he also pointed out it was in the HOV lane even though the driver was alone in his pickup. Thankfully, nobody was seriously injured. All three drivers pulled over and called the police, and when they arrived, Luke says they arrested the driver of the black pickup for DUI at 10:55 in the morning. Luke pointed out that his front camera shows his Tesla correcting itself back into its lane to prevent another collision. Don't drink and drive, Wham Baam fam. Tim was driving behind a work truck that appeared to be ready for a jousting competition. What could possibly go wrong? Who could have seen that coming? Tim told us the debris from the mirror made a loud crunch as it impacted his Tesla. Thankfully, his car wasn't damaged. Considering neither of the other drivers stopped, they must have not been bothered by the situation either. Pavan was supervising FSD when a deer ran out in front of his Tesla. FSD detected the animal, applied the brakes, and swerved to avoid a collision, but this wouldn't be the only time. A couple of hours later, it happened again. Once again, FSD reacted by detecting and avoiding the buck before Pavan even realized what was happening. He told us it was an amazing AI experience. Luca had just finished having lunch with the members of his punk rock band Delta Matrina when they all loaded into his Model Y to head back to the studio. While he was reversing, Luca noticed an Audi also backing up. He stopped, hoping the Audi driver would do the same. When Luca realized the Audi wasn't stopping, he tried to shift back into drive, but he wasn't quick enough to avoid getting bumped. When the Audi driver jumped out, he appeared angry at first. Imagine realizing you've run into a car filled with an entire punk rock band. Yikes! Here's where this story gets interesting. What looked like a minor bump turned into a total nightmare. Repairs took 2 months to complete, and the final bill ended up over 10,000 euros, around $10,500 US. The repair shop sent Luca these pictures after they ended up replacing not only the bumper cover, but the entire left side panel. This might seem wasteful, but evidently the manufacturing process makes it just as cost-effective to do it this way as it would be to replace the quarter panel alone. Additionally, the old part can be recycled. The new panels then had to be painted to match. At least the band has a fun story to tell. Samuel was on his way to the Gatwick airport to pick up his daughter. Due to construction on the M25, only one lane of the highway was open. Samuel was following behind other traffic as they all merged into the one open lane. At the same time, a maintenance pickup with hazard lights on was driving on the shoulder. Just as Samuel was driving by, the pickup driver turned to merge onto the highway without signaling. The pickup impacted the side of Samuel's Tesla, damaging both doors, the quarter panel, and the rear wheel on the left side. Samuel stopped before the pickup driver came over and accused Samuel of driving into the shoulder and hitting him. Samuel told him to calm down, then played this footage for him. He quickly apologized and admitted fault. Teslacam for the win. Thankfully, the Tesla was still drivable, so the two drivers swapped insurance details before Samuel left to pick up his daughter from the airport. Dustin was on his way home from a conference when he was rear-ended by a dump truck hauling dirt to a motocross event. Dustin told us his Tesla automatically applied the brakes to avoid hitting the vehicle in front of him, but the dump truck driver didn't hit any brakes at all. Both drivers immediately pulled over and exchanged insurance information. Dustin had to wait 3 months to get his Tesla into the certified repair center, and then it took another 4 weeks and $7,000 to complete repairs. Hammer Time was entering a highway using a metered on-ramp. This means the ramp has traffic signals to regulate the flow of vehicles onto the highway, presumably improving traffic flow. The footage reveals that 2 of the signals release traffic at almost the same time, which kind of invites a drag race, doesn't it? Hammer Time didn't admit to being tempted to race, but naturally, his Tesla was much faster off the line than the Honda next to him. The Honda driver, on the other hand, clearly saw this as a challenge to his lawnmower's capabilities, evidently offended by the Tesla's instant torque. After Hammer Time had settled into highway traffic, the Honda driver sped past him and aggressively cut him off. Hammer Time let the Honda in, but not before it clipped the front of his Tesla. He told us he didn't realize a collision had occurred until he noticed the damage later. Thankfully, his paint protection film took the brunt of the impact. You know what? We're still gonna roll the jingle. Hit it!
Jump in! Honda bumped! Honda bumped!
Hammer Time still hasn't decided if he should report the collision to his insurance provider. He also pointed out that the Honda driver was illegally using the HOV lane. Honda drivers, am I right? Josh was supervising FSD as it took him down a North Carolina highway when his car suddenly slowed down and began maneuvering to avoid a hazard in the road. The hazard everyone was trying to avoid turned out to be a herd of wild hay bales, evidently released onto the highway by a vehicle up ahead. The hay bales impacted several vehicles, with some drivers plowing straight into them, like this Santa Fe that collided with one head-on. Up ahead, the truck carrying lots of hay bales never stopped. Evidently, the driver either didn't notice or didn't care. Mike was driving in Overland Park, Kansas, when he encountered a Tesla behaving badly. Yeah, we have no idea what this Tesla driver was thinking. Mike thinks they saw his Model 3 in their mirror and wanted to show off. I guess the Model 3 is just the Model S's little brother, right? The Model S driver nearly smashed into the median barrier and came dangerously close to losing all control. Please, don't try this at home. I'm sure you're all wondering how this could possibly happen, since we all know that Tesla drivers are the best drivers. Well, clearly that isn't always true, as this video from Rick reveals. He was nearly T-boned by a Tesla driver after they ran a red light. Rick thinks the other Tesla driver should be required to use FSD. In fact, he thinks that Teslas should detect when their drivers run red lights and restrict them to only using FSD for the next month. Honestly, once unsupervised FSD is a reality, this might not be a bad idea. Robert was driving his Cybertruck in stop-and-go traffic down a highway in Houston, Texas, when he noticed a tire rolling toward him in his rearview mirror. Well, that's a first. Watch what happened when Robert slowed down to avoid being hit by the tire. Another pickup struck the tire before it could make contact with the Cybertruck, sending it back into the median barrier before it bounced back into the road and claimed its next victim. Shawn was driving home from Thanksgiving when 2 vehicles came speeding up behind him. One of them managed to pass Shawn, but the other did not. The driver evidently didn't notice an SUV stopping to assist another driver whose SUV had stalled. Between driving too fast and failing to react to what was in front of him, the other driver ended up rear-ending the SUV next to Shawn. Shawn had his kids with him and wasn't able to safely stop, but he's hopeful that the SUV driver might find and be able to use this video for his insurance claim. Sid had parked his car to take some groceries up to his girlfriend's apartment, and just 5 minutes later, he got a notification on his phone that Sentry mode had been triggered. He immediately ran down the stairs to find out what was happening. He found this Sentry mode footage, but the Honda responsible was already long gone. Sid immediately called the police, and it turned out both he and the Honda driver have the same insurance provider. Hopefully there won't be any problems sorting the claim out. The grumpy wolf was waiting patiently at a red light. Just as the light turned green for traffic going straight, a trucker ran the red light and entered the intersection. Sadly for them, the driver right next to the grumpy wolf was a sheriff's deputy, and he immediately lit up his party lights to have a little talk with the truck driver.
That Tesla man can't drive. That Tesla